Well, welcome to Cold Hard Trash, CRT episode 32. I'm your host, Trashcan Jones.
And I'm Breeeg, your fellow host.
And to keep on about bridging the gap between what you want to do and what video games let you do. So, I had this thought, right, when I was playing the old Doom. The first Doom, because they have it released it on Game Pass, and they actually HD remastered. I want to go back and play that, release it on Steam. But when you first go and play the game, then the first level, there is an enemy up on a raised platform for you to shoot at. And if you've never played Doom before, your first instinct would be, alright, I see that enemy, I can look up, and then I shoot him. But I don't know if you have played Doom, there's no option to look up. It was made in the times before dual stick shooters, before there was like the ability for the mouse to be able to be used as what you call your look for first person. So you can't look up at all. So you might be stuck wondering like, all right, well, how is this supposed to happen? But if you just look in the direction of the enemy and pull the trigger, you automatically aim right up at him and shoot him. Easy. And it's just that like that quick bridge of like, oh, how am I going to do this? Oh, I don't even have to think about it. And that keeps you immersed in the game to where you don't have to worry about aiming or doing all those things. You can just keep the whole thing of Doom is running, strafing, doing circles around the thing. You can just focus on that. And it locks you in pretty good. Mm-hmm. And just having that bridge be super smooth allows for a lot of immersion. But then you get into something like the Grand Theft Auto games on the PlayStation 2, or Sarge's Heroes was another big example that I can talk about because I just played it recently, where auto aim exists in there because of the same thing. It was right around the time that dual stick was invented, so they hadn't exactly gotten the best uses out of it. Like, it was really just wacky. Whenever you touch the right stick, your camera would just get locked in a position and you wouldn't be able to move it at all, and it would just kind of suck. Mm-hmm. So the whole thing of auto aim becomes of like, oh yeah, we're gonna not exactly do it the one-to-one like it was in Doom, because you can still look around. You do get a little bit more freedom of movement, especially in the up and down direction. So they give it like a auto-assisted aim, to where like one of every 3 bullets hits, like depending on where you are in position of them and all that, and it's just awful. And it becomes the worst. It's when it comes to walking across that bridge of what you want to do versus what you can expect to do, it's just terrible. And whenever you play those old Grand Theft Auto games or see people play them, you'll always see like, oh, the cool cutscenes, and they're able to drive and do the things. And whenever they have to stop and shoot, it's like they're playing a completely different game, because they have to stop and then lock on and get the angles right, and it's just all just like jerking around the camera, and it doesn't make for a very immersive experience. It breaks you out right in that time. Yeah. But that also brings in the idea of expectations with games. Because you have something like Doom, where the expectation of it, there is no expectation of a big world with cutscenes and cars you can drive and all these different things. It's just a game full of enemies. You move, you shoot, and you get to the end. And it's good for what it does. It's a very nice, fun game. It immerses you in that way. When you get to something like Grand Theft Auto or Sarge's Heroes, where there's much more of a cinematic scope to it, where you have these characters that evolve in cutscenes, and they have like all these different life and personality to them. There's a lot of different keys and marks that they need to hit that would be considered a good game and could potentially immerse you, to where the shooting mechanics just standing alone on themselves don't exactly make the game. So something like Grand Theft Auto, even though it has some of the worst shooting mechanics you can ever go back and play, it's still revered as a good game just because of everything else that it was able to do, because the expectations for it were more than just a shooter. So it's kind of a cool thing just looking at like immersion in video games and how your expectations can kind of form that.
That whole thing where it's like that partial auto aim does kind of sound bad, but like I like I mentioned before, I like to think of explanations for these types of things. Mm-hmm. Like you hit so many shots, but you're also like under fire. Right. You only have so much control of your character, and your character is probably under a lot of stress getting shot at.
Sure.
So they can't aim perfectly. They're like ducking out from cover and go brrr, and then they're...
Right, and that makes sense. And with later Grand Theft Auto games, they actually added, like Grand Theft Auto 4 added the cover system. Same with, I think, Red Dead had the Deadeye system. So there was ways that just kind of band-aided that bridge to make it a little smoother to walk across. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're exactly right, where that's kind of the quote-unquote lore reason that a lot of that stuff happens. Like a good reason or a good explanation is like in Call of Duties when you have your crosshair of hip firing, whenever you're moving, it just gets like wider. And they just tried to simulate that, but with auto aim.
See, when you were talking about like expectations and like what you can and can't do in a video game, I was thinking of something completely different than shooting mechanics, though. Although we do have one example, kind of, which is the lock-on system in Armored Core. Because that's an actual chip that you install, right? And like your ability to track at short, medium, and long range is affected by the type of chip that you have. It's optimized for a particular range and like how much power it takes and stuff like that.
Sure.
So that's just sort of like something that explains, your limitations and helps you set your own expectations for whether or not you're going to be able to hit a shot. But what I was thinking about was like you're in Zelda and you make a pizza, which you can do in Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, nice.
You can't eat a slice of it.
You can only eat the whole pizza?
Yeah.
Why?
What a limitation.
You're right. Your expectation breaks your immersion right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's really the big thing. When you think of immersion, like especially nowadays, you think of like the big open world, the very beautiful graphics, maybe not lifelike, but like very stylized, like the Legend of Zelda is. But then like, it comes down to that idea of what you expect versus what actually happens. Because even with all that, you get your pizza and you're like, I have to eat the whole thing?
And just roll it up.
Right, and or like in survival games where you eat like a whole pineapple or a whole watermelon, just like take a bite out of it. It's just like, it's almost like comical how badly that breaks immersion.
And there's like other ways that you could sort of do this. Like let's say that, a pineapple or a pizza or whatever counts for so many rations, and like you eat like a portion of it, and like it's like has a meter thing that goes down as you eat it. But is that technically more immersive, or is that just trying to make something real? Because like realistic and immersive are two different things.
Right, and it's sort of that thing of like I'm saying, of the going across that bridge. Like, although it is kind of funny that immersion breaking in a survival game that you just eat a coconut or a pineapple whole, whenever all you need to do in a survival game is your expectation is I need to be able to fill this bar. So you get the pineapple, it fills this much bar, eat the pineapple. And the bridge is just crossed just like that. So it's kind of a funny thing that the immersion breaks, but immersion in the term of like realism in that sense isn't the equated. You're still immersed in the game without it being realistic, just because that bridge was smooth. Didn't have to worry about it. Didn't have to worry about getting a knife to prepare the pineapple and all that. Because while you're right, that would be more realistic. That would be less immersive. Because then you'd have to be like, I guess you could argue it would be more immersive, but it would be like annoyingly immersive. Like Project Zomboid, where like you get a piece of food and you actually have to cook it to like thaw it out before cooking it, or else it like has a different cook time. Yeah, they have a bunch of different weird immersive like things for cooking and crafting and farming. It's so fun.
I still want to try Project Zomboid. I was asked if I wanted to play it before, and I said no because I thought it was going to be like DayZ, and I was not interested in that. And then later I found out it was that isometric type thing, and it has all these like funny, confusing, like realistic mechanics. It's like, oh damn, I should have said yes.
Yeah, and it's such a big world too, and it's really easy just to set up servers. I'm pretty sure whenever you start a world, it just makes like a server that goes on forever. And so like whenever you die, like your body just is now existent in that server, and everything you did is saved. So like if we just spawn in different towns or whatever, like we spawn in one town, play for a while, die, like, oh, let's go to this other town. Eventually we can take a car back to that town and just go through our first days or whatever. We'll be able to find our bodies, everything we looted. It all
or our
saves.
zombies.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're walking around as zombies if you die.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Cool stuff. Speaking of immersion, did you hear about Gooner 911?
No. What?
There's this game called Zenless Zone Zero. It's supposedly part of the Hoyoverse, which is like, I don't know, I think it's the same people that make Genshin Impact.
Okay.
And they put out an update a couple weeks ago that they reverted the same day, which made the character model disappear when the camera angle caused the camera to be too close to them. The result was you could no longer look up the skirts of the anime girls you're playing as. And there was a riot on Twitter. People were so upset. They were like, what do you think we play this fucking game for? I'm like, Jesus Christ, like...
That's ridiculous. Like, fuck your fighting mechanics. We're here to see panty shots.
Yeah, who... and to, like... if I was a fan of that game and I liked doing that a lot, I would probably not post about it ever. Right? Like, that would be a dirty secret of mine.
That's just how big it is in the community. They're rallying together like, oh yeah, this is so great, right? Like, they think it's all like, cool and correct. So they're coming out like, whoa, in mass. Nobody's shutting them down within the community being like, no, we don't play it for that. It seems like everybody's on board.
Yeah. But the thing, I kind of like, I somewhat accept the argument of like, this is what we're, like, this is the whole point of the game. This is what we're paying for. And you're like,
paying for them cheeks.
Yeah, but like, I still think they should take it away anyways.
Yeah, no, because
you should just shut down. But
they're not gonna actually stop playing the game. It's just
they might. No, they might. That's what they're there for. They hot fixed it that same day, and they gave everyone some currency as an apology.
But would they actually just stop playing the fighting game that they like just because they can't goon to it anymore? Like, it's still a fighting game without the gooning. Like, they probably still have thousands of hours of skill in a fighting game and whatnot that they're not going to just throw out the window because they can't goon.
I mean, it's not like you might be thinking of Skullgirls where the same exact thing happened, but that was years ago.
Oh, that's Genshin Impact isn't a 2D fighter?
No. Genshin Impact is something that came out in the wake of Breath of the Wild.
Ah, okay. I thought it was more like a Soul Calibur type game. Like, not exactly 2D, but like that fake 2D where you can, whatever.
Yeah, no. You would probably, honestly, in a fighter like that, you'd probably never even get the camera angles I'm talking about.
Right, that's why I was kind of like, is it really that big of a deal for your fighting game? Because you probably only get it on, like, certain ring outs and whatever, but...
Well, it's funny that you say that because that did happen to a fighting game, Skullgirls. Which I was a little bit interested in that game, but only because there's one character named Big Band, and he's a giant instrument-playing robot.
Oh,
he's
nice.
like 8 feet tall, and he has a trumpet. And when you use like your finisher move or whatever, you can freeze the enemy, and you have like 4 seconds to play whatever you want on the trumpet, and you can like memorize what the notes are and actually play it.
That's awesome. And just find hit them.
But yeah, a lot of skimpy girls in that game, and they ended up patching it like years later to like give them a little bit more tasteful covering.
And people went up in flames about that. They were like, what the fuck?
I actually saw the same exact argument I was bringing up for this, where it's like, I was a backer on like, Kickstarter for this game. I paid money for this to have this, and now you took it away from me.
To have these skimpy girls.
Yeah, and it's like, I would still just like never be up in arms about it, Like, if that was my deal. I don't know, man. Sometimes you look at someone's problems and you're like, damn, I'm having to deal with like something that important, that's like really rough. And sometimes you look at people's problems and you're like, damn, I'm glad that my problems are bigger than that.
Yeah, right. I'm glad that I go outside more than once a year.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, if nobody in the community like elsewise was kind of shutting them down, then that makes sense. If they're just like basically getting reaffirmed in that, how they just basically become trolls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not even like internet, like, old trolling you, like literal underneath the bridge trolls. Like,
I think Skullgirls didn't go back on it because, they probably had like a greater vision for the game. I mean, it's much older than this Zenless Zone Zero thing, which is much more recent, and they probably were courting this audience for that particular purpose.
Right. They knew they were they call it fan service. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah. I don't know. Honestly, like, video game buttocks don't do it for me.
Yeah, what video games specifically? Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like, I guess, and not even like a whole lot of animated things. Like, when I was really young and like coming into my pubescence, like animated things kind of got me going. But I just have like fond memories of that, like Velma Dinkley, my first crush and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I can't imagine getting like actually that worked up about something like that nowadays, to where like you actually care.
Even then, I might find like a character attractive, but that actually mostly comes from their personality. Right? Like, I mean, like, drawn titties, like, it's so free,
Yeah,
you don't
they're everywhere.
gotta work for it.
Right.
You know, you just open up like
A well-written character, though. That's some thought put behind that.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's hard to draw these animated titties. You know, I can't. I'm not capable of doing that. But I don't know. There's just a lot of them.
Yeah. So you mentioned superpowers with the Marvel Rivals game. I got to thinking, it was just had a weird thought of that item in Smash Brawl where it's like the super spicy curry. You eat it and start spitting fire.
Mm-hmm.
What foods, if we lived in like an anime world where like everybody had powers but they needed to be activated by foods, so like everybody had to be really careful what they ate? Just this kind of like, you know, I didn't put much thought of the world behind that. What foods would give you what powers?
I guess first I would want to reference a character from My Hero Academia, Sun Eater, whose specific power is that when he eats a food, he can sort of manifest it as part of his body for a period of time.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. And I remember him, his thing of like, I got to be careful of what I eat beforehand so that it's useful to me.
Yeah, so that he has access to the things that he needs. Like, you know, he'll eat like a lot of takoyaki octopus so that he can get his octopus arms and like, you know, shield his face with like a big beak and stuff like that. Right,
and it's like food that is gross to him. He doesn't want to eat, but he's like, I know I'm gonna need it, so.
And the way he ended up beating like 3 guys was that one of them had this ability to like make a bunch of like crystals and stuff like that he couldn't break, but he managed to like swallow one of the crystals so that he could make the crystals come out of his body. And he won the fight. It was pretty cool. But that's different. But that's just one example of someone whose whole shtick is they activate their powers by eating food.
Damn.
And he was teamed up with this guy named Fat Gum, who all of his all the excess calories would store up into like insane amounts of fat that like, you know, was basically limitless, and he'd always be this really, you know, big guy, and he could expend that fat to like absorb hits and like convert it into immediate energy and get like really strong hits. And
that's pretty cool.
So yeah, he's a cool guy. There's in the same arc, he was in a fight where like this guy, his superpower was that he had like a shoulder that he could do a full rotation of without like moving his
That was
arm.
his whole quirk.
With both shoulders, but it let him punch insanely fast with, you know, his technique. And so he punched Fat Gum like 1,000 times, and all of his fat went away, and then it let him do one really big punch. But yeah, I also do like some of those like sort of like lamer powers, but you got like, you know, really good technique with it. You make it work.
Yeah, doesn't Midoriya's mom like have the ability to make small objects float? That's her quirk.
Float towards her, I think.
Yeah, like make spoons float towards her, and that's it.
But foods that would get, if everyone had powers, right? That's what you're saying. And everyone was like equally activated them with foods.
Right. Yeah. So say like kind of everybody had that quirk of that guy, to where like what power would you get if you ate a plate of spaghetti and meatballs? Like what would that fuel you with? Would you be able to just get like real like noodly spaghetti arms? Would you be able to ball up and roll out like a big meatball?
So I think it would sort of come down to like the original like thing, the original form of the thing that ended up on your plate. So like you'd probably get like cow or pig hooves.
Okay.
You can pollinate wheat.
You can pollinate wheat. All right.
Sort of lame, but you know that's why people eat spaghetti, because it's just kind of easy to deal with, unless you have a pollen allergy, in which case you probably just die.
Just make pollen from your body and then just.
Yeah. Well, actually, we probably wouldn't even have pollen allergies, because allergies are a whole separate thing about like your body not recognizing something and confusing it for a threat. Like I have a cousin who, when he was, I don't even know how this entirely works, but when he was younger, he had a lot of intolerances and allergies and stuff like that. He like could barely eat anything, so then he was having like boiled chicken and rice, and then he had it so much that his body became intolerant to that.
Oh no.
But nowadays he can eat things like just fine that he never could before.
Yeah, allergies are weird. They can kind of come and go, I've heard.
Yeah. All types of different things. So that's what I'm saying, though, right? Like if like literally everyone is pollinating all the time,
probably
no pollen allergies. Your body's probably not going to think it's something.
Maybe a higher infant mortality rate, because maybe the ones that do have the pollen allergies just don't.
Fair.
So maybe it's a little dark, but yeah.
Well, I just think they wouldn't happen in the first place if it was just so everywhere, you know.
Yeah. What about a steak? What powers would you get from a steak? Would it just with same thing, cow hooves, or would that be like, you know, like what gives you the big like strength? I guess spinach, right? Spinach is the big muscle one. that one's already taken.
Spinach is just high in iron. I mean, that's one of the most clear examples of like old cartoons. Like it's like a got milk type deal, right?
Right, yeah.
Just have him eat spinach, and then he gets super arms.
Bing gets those naval guns in his biceps. Mm-hmm. The biggest gun that you ever done seen.
Yeah. If it is like the power of like the thing that you're eating, then it's like, you know, then you can like photosynthesize, right? See, like it's kind of boring. We need to like go to like the character of what it is.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. It shouldn't just be like illiteral, kind of like how the My Hero thing is, but more like how Popeyes is, where he eats the spinach and he gets the super strength. So if you eat spaghetti, do you like get super jumping powers? And you can fit into pipes more easily. Yeah,
you can finally fix the J trap underneath your sink.
You just become a really good plumber. Like all the plumbing knowledge comes to your head.
Mm-hmm. I think that'd work.
What about fried rice?
Turns you into a shrimp.
Ooh, all right, that'd be pretty.
You can make more fried rice.
Yeah. Telling me a shrimp fried this rice?
Exactly.
No, I'm telling you, you're about to fry this rice and just pop into a little shrimp on the table.
Exactly.
That'd be pretty good. Some stuff is just shape-shifting things, so it's like Yzma's poisons. Like some stuff just turns you into a llama, whereas other stuff would kill you.
Imagine a llama one being something like, I don't know, not that rare. Like, oh, certain grapes have like this type of yeast on them, and you know, every couple of years this yeast ends up coming back into the region and getting on the grapes, and everyone turns into llamas for like a couple of hours. It's really fucking annoying.
You really got to make sure we're washing our grapes.
There'd be a lot of recalls.
I was gonna say it's not like, you know, an unexpected type thing. So if it was like something like that, where oh yeah, the pollen just kind of comes in, it's like, oh, it's grape washing season, just like how you can get like, I guess in Austin, Texas, they have these things called zebra mollusks that are all throughout their...
They got them here.
Oh, they do? Yeah, I guess they can't get rid of them for whatever reason, so they're just in the
incredibly invasive.
Yeah. Why can't we just, like, bleach the pipes? Like, shut the water off for an hour, bleach them all, and then run it back?
The zebra mussels, I remember in my, like, old band camp that I would go to in middle school, they had those in the lake, and sometimes we'd go, like... There'd be like swim time and we'd go down to the pier and like jump into the water and stuff, and they're like, make sure you jump far from the pier, because if you jump too close, there's like zebra mussels on like every single surface on the way down, and they're sharp.
Oh shit.
So, but they keep the water clear, right? They're mussels.
I guess they're like bottom feeders.
Yeah, but you can't really they're filter feeders, but you can't really it's just so hard to get rid of them. And the running bleach through the pipes, like, okay, everybody don't have water for
an hour of bleaching, and then an hour after for rinsing, and then bam, we're done.
I mean,
2 hours, no water. I feel like the city will be fine.
That's a lot of bleach.
Yeah, one time. Everybody get your bottles ready. We'll make a big event of it, you know, like the same time we dye the river green, we probably got to do some shit with the water system anyway. So while we're down there, you know, double up.
When they dye the river green, I'm pretty sure they just do that. They got boats and they drop a bunch of dye in there, and then they just sort of wait for it to leave.
Oh, they don't have anything where like they make sure it doesn't go into like the public water or anything? I figured they would maybe had something where like, oh, we're not going to let the Chicago River water. I don't know. I guess
the Chicago River was like famously the dirty, dirty river for like so much of Chicago's history.
I figured they would do something like had something to block off maybe dirtying the entire river, or maybe nowadays a green section. I don't know. I figured they just didn't like just throw everything in the river and like, hey, now it's green again, because for exactly that reason. I thought they had more of a head about that.
No, I just don't think they get the water from the river.
Yeah, I guess that
any existing infrastructure probably is not getting water from that dirty, dirty river.
I was gonna say it's probably spilling into that river more than if anything else. So it's probably not coming from there.
All the bleach in the pipes too, like wherever the like miles from wherever that runoff is gonna be like fucked.
I was gonna say, where do we pump our water in from? Does it all come from the lake then?
I imagine it'd be the lake. Like, so like I grew up on well water. So I guess I never really thought too hard about like where the water comes from for like bigger systems like that. But they definitely have water treatment plants.
I was gonna say they got like the water towers and everything. I don't know if the water towers are like the same thing as they used to be, to where they actually hold whatever that would be, like a store of water, to where they filter from that. Do they, or is that like sort of a bygone technology?
No,
where they
there's never going to be a better technology for that, right? Is what you do is you pump a lot of water up there very slowly, right, with excess energy from the power grid.
You pump water up there. I figured it was just like it collected like natural water and then did that.
No,
okay.
what it is that you
that makes more
pump
sense.
it up very, very slowly to use as little energy as possible getting that water up there. And then, like, let's say you're in a building, right? You probably have a water, like a decently tall, like a high rise or something. You probably have a water tank above you.
Right.
So however many floors up there, that from there, it's just filling up with water all day while everyone's at work and stuff like that. And then people come back and then they turn on their water, and then the water's coming from that tank that's been storing it all this time back down. Is a way of keeping like energy systems and water systems a bit more smooth by just sort of storing it. I mean, you ever heard of a water battery? It's kind of like that, except instead of using the flowing water to give you energy again, you just use the flowing water to give you water.
Right, that makes sense. I just figured that was like an older type thing. I didn't know if we had, but now that I think about that, whenever I think of water towers, I was initially thinking of like the old timey like literal tube ones, but the newer ones are like those. I don't even know what the shape would be, where it's like kind of a bulb at the top and closed off. So that makes sense that it's like a big pump system in there.
I mean, the big bulb, like I've seen that since I was born. I've always seen that. And then there's also things that are cylinders, but they're up. They have to be
right.
up
They're
above,
higher because that's how
so
like
that the gravity can take the water where it needs to go.
That makes sense. Yeah, I don't remember when I started seeing the bulbs. I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to water towers, other than they're just big things over there.
Yeah, no, there's been water towers since before we were born, like that.
Oh yeah, I know there's been water towers just in general. I just didn't know when they switched from like mainly the cylinder to new bulb ones.
Well, you still see a lot of cylinders for like on top of buildings and stuff, right?
True.
I mean,
I suppose.
I actually don't spend that much time on top of buildings looking at the tops of buildings, kind of typically below the top of a building.
But when I think of like the panning up shots from movies and whatnot of the top of skyscrapers, you think of like the big AC boxes, and there's usually like a water tank at the top of that.
Yeah, exactly.
There's that famous the woman who they thought like was some kind of like apparition or something. Some ghost was involved in her death because she died in the top of a water tank at a hotel. But it was she was last seen on like whatever floor and having like a bunch of different erratic movements. I think it came out that she was just schizophrenic and then probably ended up, in a daze or having some sort of break and then falling into the water tower.
There's like a fiction or real life?
It's a real life thing. Yeah,
Oh.
There's like CCTV cameras of like her last moments, and it's like, oh, she's acting like somebody's following her, but they don't see anything on the cameras. So I think it was a weird thing in the paranormal world for a while where they thought maybe like a ghost or something had haunted her and killed her, but it was just one of those things where she had been known to have, problems like that and was off her medication, I think. And I watched a documentary about it a long time ago because it was a cold case for a long time. They're like, how could somebody even possibly get up there without getting stuffed in to some degree?
Well, you could probably open it somehow.
Right, and that was the thing. If you open it and climb in, then yeah. But like, why would anybody do that? And then that's eventually came and then like, oh, she was not the 100% there.
Sad.
Yeah.
But gives you a little bit more knowledge about water towers.
Yeah, that's the water tanks. That rang my bell, and you were like, oh, they're probably on the tops of buildings. I'm like, oh, and I know they're on the tops of buildings.
Well, yeah, but like, there's also the case where like the top floor of a building might not be habited, and then you could put a water tank there. And really big buildings will even have multiple water tanks over the course of all their floors to serve everybody, instead of having the one heaviest thing
At
possible
the top, yeah,
at the very top.
Well, technically, you do have the heaviest thing. You just kind of break it up into smaller bits, so it's the
Instead
one
of it
heaviest.
all being at the very top.
Right.
I feel like that actually might be bad for like wind hitting the building and stuff like that, to have something that heavy balanced up there.
Yeah, but it has lots of points of failure, and it's also like you get to spread it a lot more evenly. It's not just like one big tank of water sloshing. You have all the different ones, so it's probably a little bit more stable and structurally sound.
Yeah, I remember seeing something on like I think either History Channel, but it's not really history, or like National Geographic or something with architecture. But there's some of the really tall buildings too sort of have like a gyrosphere in the center to counteract wind tension.
That's kind of cool.
So.
And those buildings do like sway when they're like from the wind when they're tall enough.
Yeah.
It's a little spooky.
It is spooky, but like the way that I sort of get over it is thinking like if that thing wasn't swaying, then it's like there's some point that at which it would just break. Right.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe even past that point already. Like I see like stoplights, sitting on a pole. Not even the wire ones, just like on a pole, and the wind's going crazy, and the pole's shaking and stuff like that. Like if that pole wasn't bending, it would have probably snapped.
Yeah.
So that gives me a little bit of comfort. Like, oh yeah,
good way to think about
things move.
Right. They're supposed to.
Yeah.
Supposed to have a little give.
Yeah.
So Fatima was just getting a pickle snack the other day, taking a spear out to eat on, and I just had my back turned to her, and I just hear her go, oh, and has something slap on the floor, and the only thing I hear her say is, oh, the pickle left. It just slipped out of her hands and fell on the floor. That's how she said it to me. The pickle left. It just got up. It's gone. Walked out the door.
That's a good way to bring up the fact that you dropped a pickle.
It was in my hands and then it left. It just had a mind of its own.
I mean, you see the packages with the pickle on there, right? It's always like Mr. Pickle or something.
Yeah, walking around, got a big old strut.
Speaking of gas station pickles, though, there's this brand that I haven't seen in a while, but I was a big fan of. I forget what it was called, but it was like a variety of different like pickled snacks, but the bags aren't filled with brine. They're like pickled and then they're put into the bag outside of the brine, which probably doesn't give them the longest shelf life, but still something better. They're like refrigerated typically.
Okay.
And it would be like, like snap peas, but pickled, and then you can get like pickled jalapeno or like pickled carrots and stuff like that.
Sure.
And just like a little bag to go. And I was a big fan of those.
Pretty good.
There's variety too, because it's not only pickled cucumbers, right?
Right. It's actually like you get that pickled taste, but a little bit more of extra back flavor to it. Nice. I like a pickled carrot, pickled asparagus too. I like that.
I used to have a pickle subscription.
Really?
Yeah.
I made pickle subscriptions.
Well, it's this local guy who makes a lot of pickles.
Oh, I remember you telling me about that. Yeah, and he would just like deliver them to you.
Yeah, I'd pay him, and then he'd show up once a month with 2 jars, which I feel like I should order from him again soon. I need some good pickles. There's a good varieties of pickles, and like the pickled red onions I'd use on like everything.
Right.
I've got pickled carrots, and I'd just demolish those.
Oh.
Pickled apples.
Ooh, really? I've never had a pickled apple.
Pickled apple with like cinnamon and allspice and all that stuff.
Interesting.
Dessert pickle.
Yeah, it'd be like a sweet pickle. Really sweet. Interesting. Speaking of gas stations, though, on every gas pump, I notice there's a thing that just like begs me to pay first. Can I just not pay? Can I pay after gas? Like, is that a thing? I'm pretty sure it doesn't work unless you pay first.
I think there was a time where you could.
But like, why? It's every single gas pump is like, please pay first or go inside. Like, please don't just rob us. Like, I don't think I can. Like, I understand your fear of them potentially, but nothing's gonna happen if I pull this trigger. Like, I gotta put the money in.
I think I'll try that next time. Right? I mean, I'm not gonna steal it. I'll look at it and be like, hey, I got this gas.
It's like if it was on a vending machine. Like, please pay first. It's like, yeah, that's how it goes. I can't get it elsewise. I don't know what you mean.
Type in a threat on the numpad.
Make me. And then just fucking cops start pulling up. It's always just seemed, because I've never, I guess there probably was, like, especially before the electronics, like, became ubiquitous within gas pumps, but there's no way you could just steal gas, because there's nobody guarding it or anything, so there's no way you could just fill up and leave. Or else you'd be wanted, like, across the states. There'd be so many people stealing gas. There'd be an epidemic.
Well, like, how do you know how much gas you're going to need before you pump it? That's why I typically use a card.
Yeah, because I use a card.
I'm going to put it to full. But what if you want a full tank and you don't know how much that's going to be?
Well, you pay them in cash and you just go and get the change.
Do they give you change, though?
Yeah.
Oh, I never tried that.
Yeah, that's how I used to do it in paying in cash. It used to be $40 was used to fill my entire tank and then some. So I'd put the 40 in. If it was 35 or so, then I'd go and get the change and buy a drink with it.
But since we're talking about that gas thing, one way around that is the fact that to this day, New Jersey is the lone state that maintains the law that requires a professional to pump your car's gasoline.
Really? I thought it was Oregon was that state. It's New Jersey? They have to have gas station attendants?
According to the first thing that came up when I typed in like gas station attendant state.
Huh.
Oh, I spelled station horribly wrong. If I spell it right, it changes nothing.
Gas station attendant state. Yeah, I could. New Jersey doesn't sound right, but that's when the ban was passed. They banned self-serving gas. Yeah, wow.
Is Oregon too? But I think maybe Oregon like repealed that.
Oh, so it's one of the things like
recently.
it's a dying thing where like some people still do it, but it's not required.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
That's
Yeah.
that's
Urban counties in Oregon. Yeah, so just certain places in Oregon.
mm-hmm.
That's kind of cool though. The entire state of New Jersey, you have to have a gas station attendant. Pretty nice.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I guess you have to pay first. Or I guess would you? Because at the gas station attendant, now you have somebody who's like there to stop you. So I guess they'll pump.
I mean,
you
you're in
and
a car. What are they going to do to stop you?
Right. So I guess they just again have to ask like very politely, please pay first, or else I'm not going to pump your gas. Just sit there and stare at them like wait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. So no matter what, there's no way you can just steal gas. I don't know why they have.
Oh,
those
there's
signs.
plenty of ways to steal gas. You just siphon it from another car.
Oh, yeah, but from a gas station, there's no way to steal gas. I don't know why they have those signs. Please don't rob us.
Yeah, maybe it's just them being polite. To add please.
I guess, but it's not even like the polite part that I'm confused about. It's like I said, like putting it on a vending machine. It's like, why is it even necessary at this point? Like, why do you need to tell me to like please pay? Why put that on the what you call it, the cash register at a grocery store? Like, please pay before taking your groceries. Like, what do you mean? This is how things go. Who is out here trying to steal everything not nailed down? Why was there an epidemic at one point? Was people paying with gas with check, just having it bounce? Like,
Yeah, a check for that is kind of weird.
paying with a check for anything is weird.
Yeah, honestly, a little bit, yeah. Like, I haven't found a lot of situations where I need or would want to use a check. Like, a money order is pretty much just as good. It just takes a little bit of extra work to get. So,
Yeah, most things are electronic. You don't even need checks.
yeah. Well, I mean, the paycheck is still a check. It's an e-check. It's
Yeah.
like the nature of the transaction,
Sure.
but it's not a physical check.
Right. No paper checks no more.
Yeah, I ordered like 200 when I got like when I swapped banks. I was like, I need checks. I'll order 200, and I used like a couple of them. I used to have to pay rent with a check delivered to a pizza place
Nice.
near
Hell yeah.
USC. Luckily, I worked over there too, so like I'd just go and I'd grab a slice of pizza and give him a check, and
On the way, yeah.
to the guy serving me the pizza.
Here's your $600 for this slice of pizza.
Oh, this is like $2,000.
Oh, jeez. I tried to underestimate like rent for however many years ago, but yeah.
Oh no,
Chicago
this is
rent.
my last place. It was
Oh,
like-
really? Oh, jeez. Who was your landlord then? The pizza place, right underneath you?
It used to be a pizza place right underneath me. That pizza place ended up closing down. They replaced it with a Greek place.
Right.
But this guy has multiple locations of his pizza chain.
Okay.
And so I went to a different.
I was gonna say I don't remember there being a pizza place. Thought it was the Greek place, and now the whatever Pinky's it's called.
Nope, it's still the Greek place. Pinky's is on the corner.
Is it? No.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
And it's not. I think it's called Bussies. Bussies.
That's right, because they're trying to do that whole like that. I don't even know what it's called. That trend or that style of just like ussy everything.
I don't think they are. I think it's like just a weird blind spot for someone that's painting an entire building pink. You know.
It's gotta be. They're all like big pink pop and everything. It's gotta be.
Yeah,
like a
how
big
could they not
bubblegum
know,
pop. It's,
right?
They have
But
to.
I don't. I swear to God, there's no way that I think anyone in their right mind would name a restaurant after a pussy.
It's not. It's named after ussy.
It's the same thing.
That's gonna be the new. Weren't you saying that's gonna be the new Webster's Dictionary like ending phrase or whatever?
Yeah,
The
but you're not.
ussy?
Yeah, okay, but then like emojis aren't being used on like the names of places.
Not yet, but you can see. I've seen a
Put the emojis on the name of a restaurant first, and then we'll talk about OC. Maybe I'll be loosened up.
I've seen a name of a restaurant and then a review right underneath it on the sign that has an emoji in the review, so it's kind of part of it.
That's not the name of the restaurant.
No, it's really not. I mean, it's not too far though. I couldn't if a restaurant opened up with an emoji name on it, I would be like, yeah. I wouldn't be like, oh, that's so stupid and crazy. I'd be like, that's kind of in line with where we're going in this world.
I mean, I guess there is Dick's Last Resort, but even then, that's more about being a dick than like the physical dick, right?
I suppose.
But even though being a dick is sort of a reference to that, and I know this because different words for dick in different cultures also end up meaning the same thing. Like in England, they call people a bellend.
Right.
That also means dick.
Correct.
So.
But because they also have the word dick. Like, that's how they can equate to dick. It's not like dick isn't ubiquitous across cultures, though. Like,
no, but words about the ends of penis or the penis, like, are generally also used as a synonym for dick, as in, like, being an asshole.
Oh, yeah.
So, Dick's Last Resort, it would be an example of this.
I don't think I've ever been to Dick's Last Resort.
Neither have I, but it's shtick.
Is it sort of like that Karen restaurant where the waitresses just hate you?
Yeah. Everyone, like, the servers just, like, bully you. Like, make a paper hat and says, like, I'm easy to sleep with, and puts it on your head.
Put dunce on it.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty funny. I like to wear a dunce hat.
A classic dunce hat.
You bring that at it's like 3 feet tall. Yeah, like careful not to whack the light.
Well, they probably do, but they probably like reserve it for like very specific people. I think
awesome.
it would actually get under their skin.
Well, we should probably call this episode up to an end as well because we got some plans to get on going to.
True. Well, final thing, I guess. There is now a desert of BYOB KBBQ places in Chicago, it seems.
Unfortunate.
Chicago used to be a beautiful BYOB city, and I'm finding less and less establishments that are open to that. Which is, it's not the worst thing, but like, where'd it go? Maybe we'll research it for next episode. Maybe we won't. But we'll catch you next episode anyways.
Thanks for listening to Cold Hard Trash CRT episode 31. I've been Trashcan Jones.
And I've been Breeeg.
See you next time.